Peace. In this video, I would like to share with you on how I heal myself from grief of a loss of a loved one or a family member. Let me be clear, this is not a quick fix. It is a healing process which will take some time, especially with all the emotional roller coasters that comes along with it. Inevitably, the only thing that can heal this whole thing is time. Without further ado, let's get right into it.
Because this is going to be a nice little celebration for my grandmother. Oh yeah. Definitely need one of these. Nice and beautiful. Flowers for my grandmother.
Welcome to Nomadic Gems. I am Vanel, aka Almond Raw, aka Love. That's right, I said it. I am love. And so are you. I am sending you loving energy. Can you feel it? You should. You are love. So you should feel it. Towards the end of September, I got a phone call from one of my cousins. It was 2 a.m. in the morning. Automatically, I knew something was wrong. I didn't want to pick it up at first, but eventually I did. So I get news that one of our cousins passed away. I couldn't go back to sleep, and my spirit told me that it's time for me to do some spiritual work. So I went to work and did my ritual that I usually do. So now fast forward 2 weeks later. In the beginning of October, I lost my grandmother. So 2 weeks apart of each other, I have two family members that passed away. Now for my grandmother, it hit me pretty hard. And of course, you can only imagine the reason why. I mean, that's grandma. Grandma are special to all of us. So it was a hard hit on our family. And we were calling each other as a support system. And I give thanks for all the family members that I do have, which it's a lot of us. We have a lot of cousins, a lot of uncles, a lot of aunts. So we were a support system for each other. So a matter of fact, as I'm talking right now, I have my rose quartz, which is something I use also in the healing process. I would like to share with you on my process on how I heal myself. Now, keep in mind, there's not one particular way that a person should heal themselves, because ultimately everybody deals with grief in a different way, okay? So speaking about grief, there's actually 5 stages of grief. They were coined by Elizabeth Ross, a psychiatrist, back in 1969. So the 5 stages you have are anger, denial, bargaining, acceptance, and depression. If you would like to know more about the 5 different stages, what I'll do is I'll put a link in the description. One of the stages that I did fall a victim to for a very long time was the stage of depression after losing one of my cousins on my motorcycle. His death hit me the hardest, and the reason why is because for a very long time I blamed myself for that. Even though I did heal myself, I no longer blame myself for it, but at the time I blamed myself because I was one of the last ones to see him at the time, and I did not force him to take the helmet. I no longer blame myself for it because I understand that everything happens for a reason, and the higher one has a plan for that. Ultimately, we don't know the time of our departure from this beautiful earth. Going back on it now, I should have seen a shrink. I don't know if I'm supposed to use that word, but that was pretty deep. For 9 months, I was in that one particular stage of depression. So over time and over the years, I come to develop or go through a certain ritual for a loss of a loved one. And so if anything like that happens, of just losing somebody, I would be well equipped. Okay, let's dive into my process in going through my healing journey. There are some items that I like to start off with. And usually it's a white candle, a cup of water, a picture of the deceased, if you have a picture, incense, any incense. But my favorite here, Palo Santo. Oh yeah. But to be honest with you, you really don't need none of this. I'm just sharing with you on some of the items that I kind of like put together to create a space for the loved one. There is something else that I would like to incorporate with the rest of the items, and that is an item of the deceased, something that they like to use. It can be anything, their favorite food or a favorite cloth of theirs or a favorite hat, right? For my cousin, I used rum, cigar, and that good old plant medicine, if you know what I'm talking about, right? I can't stop burning my Palo Santo. For my grandmother, I used ground food like sweet potato, yams, she loved it, cinnamon, and ginger. Ginger is her favorite. This lady would put ginger in everything. When I mean everything, I mean everything. Just like how we like to put hot sauce on everything, she put ginger in everything. She'll use it as tea. She'll put it in her food, in her legging. Whenever she loves ginger. This lady loved ginger. She would tell me it's good for the stomach. And I'm like, okay. It makes you use the restroom, she would say. I'm like, okay, great. But those are the items that I use for her. Okay, what is the purpose? What is the purpose for doing all of this? Well, for me, the reason why I go through all of this is because I know that by me healing myself from the grief will help the person that just passed away, it will help them to transcend. The reason why I say that is because the energy of grief, the energy that holds us down, and for the person as well that transcends, it keeps them at this lower vibration because we have a connection to them, an etheric connection as well. So by going through this process, it is like me helping and elevating and helping the lost one to transcend, to help them to transcend to the next realm. Ultimately, this is what ancestral worship is all about. If you don't know what ancestral worship is, I will also put a link in the description where you can also do some reading on it. But my purpose is that to help the spirit to transcend to the next realm, okay? And especially if it was a tragic way that that person departed this earth. If it was a tragic way, by going through this healing process and elevating the spirit to the next realm, we essentially help that spirit to make that transition. So this is why we grieve. We grieve because we will no longer see that physical body. We will no longer see that person. At the same time, spirit and the soul is infinite. Their spirit will always be, especially if they're a family member, we will always be connected to them. So after setting up, I would play some music, maybe a music that they would have liked. I'll do some journaling, some dancing, which I think the bulk of my time is spent probably like dancing and going through a meditation process with the spirit as well. So when I say going through a meditation process, it is a process with connecting with that spirit and reliving some of the moments that we shared here on earth. I would feel the love that we shared while we were here on earth. I would go in my memory bank into the times where we had fun together. Relive some of those moments. I would bask in that love of those times and be in that moment as long as necessary. It's not one particular way, it doesn't have to be. It's however long you see fit. It's not a timer. There's no timer. So the last image that I would like to keep of them is the last interaction that we had together. And for me, this is an image that I can keep in my mind's eye. So if there's a reference point, I can go to that last interaction or amongst the many interaction that we had together. But personally for me, I don't want to have that last image of them when they're laying in a casket, because that image for me is an image that will stamp as though that's the last time me seeing that person. And that's not an image that I want to keep in my mind's eye. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Something simple to do. A lot of emotions will be coming up. The emotions have to go somewhere. Just don't let the emotions stay in one place and stay stagnant. Because once the emotion stays stagnant in one place and there's not an outlet for the emotions to go out, then that can lead to a lot of stress or even depression as well too. So definitely feel the emotions of it, let the emotions move, do something creative, get the energy flowing to move the emotions, because emotion is just an expression. It's just an expression of self. So let's just express the emotions and let it flow. How can I forget? I got the goodies. I got some stones. So I would definitely incorporate some stones into my whole process. So the stones that we have here is the rose quartz, one of my favorite. I like doing that. We got the Kyanites and the ruby zolcite. The first stone I would like to talk about is the beautiful rose quartz. Now, the rose quartz will help with all the emotional roller coaster that may be coming up. This is an awesome stone that will pretty much help heal with the heartache that we may have from the grief. The next stone is the ruby zolcite. Now, this ruby zolcite is a pretty cool stone. This stone here, the ruby zolcite, is a stone that will actually help bring up all the suppressed emotions. So sometimes we may not know that we're going through grief. This would have been a perfect stone for me to have, especially when my cousin passed away on my motorcycle, because this brings up all the emotions that we think that's not there, but are actually deep suppressed emotions that we may have over time. Well, with the ruby zolcite is an awesome stone that will actually help bring up the emotions, and so we can heal through whatever emotions, pain, grief that we're dealing with. And so with both of these stones combined together, like magic, is an awesome healing tool. The vibration of it sounds beautiful. All right, next stone. Next stone that I have here is the beautiful Kyanites. Now, Kyanite is a awesome stone. This is a stone that does not need any cleansing because with the properties that it's made of, it cleanses on its own. However, for myself, I still put it out in the sun and also in the moonlight, but I would not recommend at all to pour water on this stone because it is a very brittle stone, and so the water will go inside of it and loosen. See what I'm talking about? I'm over here rubbing the stone, and this thing pretty much stabbed me. So yeah, this is not a stone that you would want to rub. Right, let's do that take again. So Kyanite will help with cleansing our aura. With grief, grief has a gray tone to it, kind of like sadness, like feeling a little melancholy. But with Kyanite will help cleanse our aura. Also a great stone to let go of the grief. Awesome stone, Kyanite. So there you have it. That is my process when it comes to healing myself from grief. Now, if you're interested and you would like to see my whole session and me going through the ritual, you can click right here or right here where there should be a video that pops up somewhere right here or there, somewhere. And definitely check it out if you're interested. If you found this video has any value for you, or maybe somebody that may need it as well, definitely share the video. And if you have any questions or any comments, feel free to comment down below. I would feel happy and delighted to interact with you guys in the comment section. Once again, thank you for taking your time if you have reached this far and checking out the video. And one more thing, remember to vibrate high and that you are also loved. Peace.